All right, so let's talk about some long division. And more specifically, this is going to be long division where there's only one digit that you're working with as the divisor. But first, there's three main vocabulary words that if you're not quite sure what they mean, you might struggle with where certain numbers go. Okay, so the first word is the dividend, and that is the number that's being divided. So if you had, 20 kids being broken up into groups, the 20 kids would be the dividends. The 20 kids is being divided out. Okay. The divisor is the number that goes into the dividend. Okay. Number that goes into the dividend. So for example, if you have 20 kids and you're dividing them into 4 groups, the 4 groups would be the divisor. Okay, it's how many parts they're going to be divided up into. And lastly, the quotient is simply the answer to a division problem. Okay, so those 3 words, you got to make sure you know what they are and where certain numbers go. Okay, because if you mix up the dividend and divisor, you're going to get the wrong quotient. Okay, so let's move down a little bit. So if you need to pause it to write those definitions, go ahead and do that. There's 3 main ways that you'll most likely see a division problem written. One of them will work with specifically for this long division stuff. Okay, the first way you might see it, a little division sign here, looks like a subtraction sign with 2 dots. So if we're doing 40 divided by 8, 40 is being broken down into 8 groups. Okay, that's going to give us an answer of 5, a quotient of 5. Okay, you can also see it like this, like a fraction, 40 divided by 8. Okay, we'll deal with fractions later in the year, equals 5. Okay, so in both of these, our first or top number is the dividend. So 40 is our dividend. It's being broken down into 8 groups, so that's the divisor. And a fraction, bottom number is always the divisor. And obviously our answer, I'll just abbreviate here with a Q for quotient. Okay. But the main way you're going to see division problems when you're actually working out long division on paper deals with this sort of box type thing. Okay. In this case, the dividend, 40, goes inside the box. The divisor goes outside the box. Okay, so 40 is being divided by 8. Okay, and then from here, later on in the notes, we'll get into how to actually work this out. Okay, there's a specific process and steps to use that'll help you do this. Okay, obviously 40 divided by 8 is, we know it's 5. Okay. If you need to pause it to catch up, go ahead. All right, so here's the main steps that we'll actually work out with numbers, but here they are in words. This might be helpful for you to write down these words here. So you're going to divide, then multiply, then subtract, bring down, and then repeat those steps. Okay, and we'll do an example to the side over here. Let's just take, whoops, wrong one. Let me erase that here. I just did the square root sign. So division. Let's do 428 divided by 2. All right, so the first step is we're going to divide the first number, 4, in the dividend by the divisor. So how many times does 2 go into 4? It goes into it twice. All right, exactly. The next step is you multiply. So we're going to multiply 2 times 2, which gives us 4. 4 goes beneath here. Okay, let me get rid of some of these little arrows here. lines. Okay, there we go. So we multiply to get 4. Our next step is S, subtract. So put a subtraction sign. 4 minus 4 is 0. Okay, so we've done the first 3 steps. The next step is bring down. We're going to bring down the 2. I would draw an arrow. The arrow is going to help you keep stuff lined up, bring it down to the right spot. So you have a 2 now. And then you repeat those steps. So 2 goes into 2 how many times? Once. Then you multiply. 1 times 2 is 2. Then we subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0. Then our B, we bring down the 8, the last number. Bring down the 8. And then we repeat it one more time because this is our last number. 2 goes into 8. How many times? 4 times. Okay, let's get rid of some of these arrows here, kind of messy. There we go. Then we multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. Then we subtract. 8 minus 8 is 0. Okay, anytime you run out of numbers and your remainder is 0 down here at the bottom, you're done. Okay. So 2 goes into 428 214 times. That's our quotient. All right. So that's the general process. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and repeat. All right. So pause it if you need to sort of catch up a little bit. And to end our notes and practice today, we're going to do a few problems together, a few more. And then I'll just work the rest of them out, and you can work at that at your own speed, all right? Alrighty. So you may not have enough room underneath these problems. That's okay. If that's the case, use a piece of paper, a separate piece of paper to show your work. But let's just walk through these let's just do the first 4 together. I'll talk through them. And then I'll put the answers on the rest of them, okay? All right, so 7, it doesn't go into 6, so you can either put a 0 as a placeholder or just move on to 68, okay? If you need to use a multiplication chart to help you with some of this, that's fine. Okay, but 7 goes into 68 9 times. We're going to multiply. 9 times 7 is 63. Going to subtract. 8 minus 3 is 5. 6 minus 6 is 0. We're going to bring down the 9. Okay. 7 goes into 59 8 times. 8 times 7 is 56. Subtract them and you get 3. Okay, so what does this 3 mean? There's not really any more numbers to bring down. Our 9 was our last one. So this 3 means a remainder. So our quotient then, let me erase some of these arrows. Our quotient, our answer is going to be 98 with a remainder of 3. Okay. I don't need you to worry about decimals or fractions right now. Using a remainder for this is perfectly fine. Okay. Next one. Again, if you need to pause this at any time, if I'm going too fast, feel free to do so. All right, 9 doesn't go into 5, so we'll just look at 50. 9 goes into 50 how many times? 5 times. Okay. 5 times 9 is 45. Subtract. Bring down your 8. Okay, hopefully you're following here. If you need to pause it, went a little fast. 9 goes into 58 6 times. 6 times 9 is 54. And subtract. We have a remainder of 4. We won't use remainders a whole lot this year, just mainly for this unit. But later on in the year, we're gonna use decimals and fractions. But for now, remainders is fine. Okay. All right. 60 divided by 3. This will be a little simpler. This won't have a remainder. So let's see here. 3 goes into 6 exactly 2 times. 2 times 3 gives you 6. We will bring down, or subtract to get 0. Bring down your 0. So this, make sure you know what's going on here. Just because you bring down a 0 doesn't mean your problem's over. Okay, you brought down the 0, so you actually have to continue the problem. 3 goes into 0 0 times. Okay, you're out of numbers now. 0 times 3 is 0. Subtract, you get 0. Okay, so our answer is simply 20 with a remainder of 0, or just 20. All right, last one that we'll talk through, and then for the rest of them, I'm just gonna work them out, or just write the answers so you can check your work against it, okay? All right, 5 goes into 1. It doesn't. So 5 goes into 17 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract, and we get 2. Bring down the 5 for 25. 5 goes into 25 exactly 5 times. Oops, sorry. We fix that 5. Uh-oh, something happened. Oh, there was a problem. Let me figure this out. Okay, we're back on. Here we go. So 5 goes into 17 3 times. Gives you 15. Subtract. Bring down the 5. You get 25. 5 goes into 25 exactly 5 times. Subtract, and you get a remainder of 0. So 175 divided by 5 is exactly 35. All right, so very quickly, I'm just going to give you the answers for the rest of these. Actually, let's just do for the next row, because I don't think we're going to have time to finish all of them. So just these next 4, okay? Quickly going to work them out. Won't talk a whole lot. So just check your work here. All right, so that'll wrap up our lesson on dividing with single-digit divisors. The big thing here, guys, is that you show your work, that you do the steps, and you don't do it in your head all the time, because I got to be able to see if you're making mistakes and what's going on paper. All right, that is it.